She was just a maid, poor, invisible, replaceable. But when the billionaire's only daughter's life was on the line, she made the most dangerous decision of her life. The whole world thought she was a thief. But the truth? It left everyone. Speechless. Edward Maxwell's mansion sat high above the city, a glass and marble fortress worth over $100 million. Inside the climate-controlled garage, surrounded by laser sensors and cameras, stood his ultimate treasure, a Ferrari La Ferrari Aperta, painted in a deep shimmering blood red. Only a handful existed in the entire world. To Edward, the car wasn't just a vehicle, it was status, power, history. He never let anyone touch it. Not even his closest friends. Naomi, the maid, had only been working here for 6 months. She was careful, quiet, and hardworking, the kind of employee most employers barely noticed. She cleaned, she cooked, and she kept to herself, but one person in the house didn't notice her: Edward's 6-year-old daughter, Clara. Clara loved Naomi. She called her Nomi and would follow her around the kitchen, giggling, while Naomi sang songs in her soft, warm voice. It was a Tuesday morning. Edward had flown out for an urgent overseas meeting. Naomi was folding sheets in the laundry room when her phone rang. It was Clara's school nurse. Her voice was panicked. "Naomi, it's Clara. She's having a reaction. It's bad. She's struggling to breathe. We've called an ambulance." But Naomi's stomach dropped. She knew exactly what was happening. Clara had a rare allergy, and the only specialist who could treat her in time was at a hospital 40 minutes away. If you drove fast. But the school nurse's voice trembled. "The ambulance is stuck. There's been an accident on the main road." Naomi's pulse pounded in her ears. She pictured Clara's tiny frame, her chest rising and falling with difficulty. There was no time. Naomi burst into the garage. She scanned the rows of cars, SUVs, sedans, and then her eyes locked on it. The Ferrari. Her heart thundered. She'd seen Edward drive it once. It could cut a 40-minute drive down to 20. But if she touched it without permission, she'd be fired. Worse, she could be arrested. She stood frozen, torn between fear and urgency. Then she heard the nurse screaming through the phone, "She's fading!" Naomi didn't think. She grabbed the keys from the valet stand and slid into the leather seat. The engine roared to life with a sound that shook the walls. The tires screeched as Naomi tore out of the driveway. The Ferrari became a blur on the highway. She weaved through traffic, her knuckles white against the steering wheel. Clara was in the back seat, slumped against the door, her breath shallow and raspy. Naomi kept glancing back. "Hold on, baby. Just hold on." But the speed drew attention. People pointed. Someone called the police. Within minutes, flashing blue and red. Lights appeared in the rearview mirror. Naomi ignored the sirens. She couldn't stop. Not now. She flew through intersections, red lights flashing past, until the hospital came into view. She screeched to a halt at the emergency entrance. Doctors rushed forward, pulling Clara into their arms. Naomi stumbled out, her heart still pounding. Then she felt cold steel against her wrists. "You're under arrest for grand theft auto," the officer said flatly. A voice cut through the chaos, deep, powerful. "Let her go." Edward was standing there, having just stormed in from his private jet. His eyes took in the scene, the Ferrari parked crook, Naomi in handcuffs, and Clara being wheeled inside. Naomi's voice cracked. "Sir, I didn't mean to." "I had to get her here." Edward stepped forward, his tone like steel. "She saved my daughter's life. The car is just metal. She is family." The officers hesitated, then released her. A week later, Naomi was summoned to Edward's study. She feared this was the end of her job. Instead, Edward slid something across the desk. "The Ferrari's keys. You risked everything for her," he said quietly. "You could have lost your life, and you didn't even think twice. That's worth more than any car." Naomi's eyes filled with tears. She stammered, "Sir, I can't." "Asterisk, you can." And you will, Edward said. Because sometimes the people the world thinks are the smallest have the biggest hearts. And for the first time, Naomi realized she wasn't invisible anymore.